Hello, good morning. Today in this video, I'm going to talk about the process of constitution making. And before process of constitution making, I will put focus on the structures and the steps, how it is applied to make it. So let's we start for the composition of the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly was constituted in November 1946 under the scheme formulated by the Cabinet Mission Plan. So the features of the schemes were such like the total strength of Constituent Assembly was to be 389. Of these 296 seats were to be allotted to British India and 93 seats to be to the princely estate. Out of 296 seats allotted to the British India and 292 members were to be drawn from the 11 governor provinces and four from the four chief commissioner provinces, one from each. Each provinces and princely estate or group of estate, in case of small estates, were to be allotted seat in proportions in their respective populations. So roughly, we can see one seat from each of the provinces. Seat allotted to each British provinces were to be decided among the three principal communities, Muslim, Sikh, in proportion to the Hindu populations. So the representation of each community were to be elected by the member of that community in the provincial legislative assembly, and voting was to be by the method of proportional representations. So the representative of princely estates were to be nominated by the head of the princely estates. So it is thus clear that Constituent Assembly was to be partially elected and partially nominated. So you can say the elected and nominated, both of the process supposed to be going on. Moreover, the member were to be indirectly elected by the member of provincial assembly, so who themselves were elected on the limited franchise. So the elections to the Constituent Assembly for 296 seats allotted to the British Indian provinces were held in July-August 1946. So the Indian National Congress won 208 seats and the Muslim League 73 seats, and the small group and independent got the remaining 15 seats. So however, the 93 seats allotted to the princely estate were not filled as they decided to stay away from the Constituent Assembly. So although the Constituent Assembly were not directly elected by the people of India on the basis of adult franchise, so the assembly comprised representatives of all sections of Indian society: Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Parsi, Anglo-Indian, Indian Christians, SC, ST, including women of all the sections, those supposed to be participated. So the assembly included all important personalities of India at that time, with the exception of Mahatma Gandhi and Muhammad Ali Jinnah, both of that part of it. So working of the Constituent Assembly held its first meeting on December 9, 1946, and Muslim League boycotted the meeting and insisted on separate state of Pakistan. So the meeting was thus attended by only 211 members. Dr. Sachidanand Sinha, who was the oldest member, was elected as the temporary president of assembly, and the following of the French practices. Later on December 11, 1946, Dr. Rajendra Prasad and then S.C. Mukherjee were elected as the president and vice president of assembly representative, respectively. So Sir B.N. Rao was appointed as the constitutional advisor to the assembly. Objective resolutions have been passed by the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru on the 13th December 1946. And it drawn about the fundamental right, philosophy of the constitutions. It drawn about the assembly declares form the solemn resolve to the proclaim India as an independent sovereign nation. And it also talk about the comprise of British India territory that now from the Indian state, so such as the part of India at how look like from the outside. And the third, the wherein they said the territory, whether with their present boundary or with such other as may be determined by the Constituent Assembly. So and thereafter, according to the law of Constitution, that shall process and retain the status up to status. Also, that status is residuary powers, and the states they have to have their separate powers. So that is also discussed about what exactly the relations between center and state. Wherein the power and authority of the sovereign independent India, it's constituted the part of organ of government and that derived from the people and so, wherein there shall be the guaranteed, secure to all the people of India justice, social, economic, and political equality of the status of opportunity, and before the law, so freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, vocations, associations, and actions, subject to law and public morality, so wherein the adequate safeguard shall be provided for the minorities. So backward and tribal area and depressed and other backward classes supposed to be there, whereby the shall be maintained the integrity of the territory of the republic and its sovereign right on the land, sea, and air according to justice and law of civilized nation. So the ancient land attained its rightful and the honor place in the world and make a full willing of the constitution to be promotion of world peace and the welfare of the mankind. So finally, 22 January 1947, the objective resolution is adopted there. Now changed by the Independence Act, some of the acts supposed to be added there, and those act are giving them the solidified the new aspect of theirs. So the representative of princely estates who had stay away from the Constituent Assembly, gradually they were joining on 28 April 1947. Representative of the six states were part of the assembly. So after the acceptance of the Mountbatten plan of June 3, 1947, partitions of the country and the representation of the most of the other princely states took their seat in the assembly. So member of the Muslim League from the Indian dominations also entered the assembly. The Indian Independence Act 1947 made the following three changes in the position of the assembly. So the assembly was made a full sovereign body which could frame any constitutions, and it pleased the act empowered the assembly to abrogate or alter any law made by the British Parliament in relations to India. The assembly also became a legislative body, in other words, and the two separate functions were assigned to the assembly. That is a making of the constitution for free India, enacting the ordinary law for the country, and these two tasks were to be performed on separate day. So thus the assembly became the first parliament of free India, and whenever the assembly met the constituent body, it was chaired by the Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and the body, the drafting committee head, Baba Sahab Bhimrao Ambedkar. The Muslim League member from the area included in Pakistan withdraw from the Constituent Assembly for India, and consequently the total strength of the assembly came down to 299 as against 389 originally fixed in 1946 under the Cabinet Mission Plan. The strength of the Indian provinces, formerly British provinces, was reduced from 296 to 229, and those of the princely estates from 93 to 70. So the state-wise membership of assembly as on the December 31, 1946 is shown as it is given in the table. Other function, just like it ratified the India members of the Commonwealth on the May 1949, It adopted the national flag on July 22, 1947. It adopted the national anthem on January 24, 1950. It adopted the national song on January 24, 1950. It elected the Rajendra Prasad as the first president of India on January 24, 1950. So we see the step by steps, the many things has to be adopted in the Constituent Assembly, and now whatever the things right now we see, those are the part and parcel of the India structure. It is absolutely drawn by the Constituent Assembly. Now, the committee of the Constituent Assembly, there are some major committee, and those committee were playing the very critical role to draft the Indian constitutions. So first, we talk about the major committee, Union Power Committee, that is Jawaharlal Nehru ji, Union Constitutions Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru, Provincial Constitutions Committee, Sardar Patel, Drafting Committee, B.R. Ambedkar, Advisory Committee, in Sardar Patel, and Fundamental Right Subcommittee J.B. Kriplani, Minority Subcommittee S.C. Mukherjee, Rule of Procedure Committee Dr. Rajendra Prasad, State Committee for Negotiation with State Jawaharlal Nehru, and a Steering Committee Dr. Rajendra Prasad. There were some minor committee also, and then we talk about the drafting committee, that is more famous, because one of the things I want to clear in this video, many people say that the sole responsibility of the drafting committee go with the Baba Sahib Ambedkar. It is not absolutely right. There are so many people have played the immense role of contributions to shape the constitution of India. So it is not exactly saying the only one persons have the responsibility and contributions. There are so many intelligence brain behind that. So let's we talk about each of the steps. So the Committee on the Function of the Constituent Assembly, G.V. Malvankar, Order of Business Committee, Dr. K.M. Munshi, House Committee, B. Pattabhai Sitaramaiah, Ad hoc Committee, National, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Social Committee to examine the drafting constitution, Aladi Krishna Swami Iyer, Credential Committee, Aladi Krishna Swami Iyer, Finance and Staff Committee, A. N. Sinha, Hindi Translation Committee, Urdu Translation Committee, Press Gallery Committee, Committee to examine the effect of the Indian Independence Act 1947, Committee on Chief Commissioner Provinces, Committee on the Linguistic Provinces, Expert Committee on Financial Provision, and Ad hoc Committee on the Supreme Court. That is those committee supposed to be talking about. Drafting committee, in which the many peoples have the major role. So first, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Chairman, N. Gopal Swami Iyer, Aladi Krishna Swami Iyer, D. Dr. K.M. Munshi, Sayyid Muhammad Salaudullah, and Madhav Rao. He replaced B.L. Mitter, who resigned due to the ill health, and T.T. Krishnamachari. He replaced D.P. Khaitan, who died in 1948. So the drafting committee, after taking into the consideration and proposal of the various committee, and prepared the first draft of the Constitution of India, which was published in February 1948. So the people of India were given the 8 months to discuss the draft and propose the amendment. So in light of the public committee and criticism and suggestions of the drafting committee were very crucial, and the prepared a second draft, which was published in October month 1948. So the drafting committee took less than 6 months to prepare its draft, and only for 141 days they had the sittings of the drafting the constitution. Now, enactment of the constitution, how and what way it is come to. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar introduced the final draft of the constitution in the assembly on the November 4, 1948. So first reading, the assembly had a general discussion on the 5 days. The second reading started on November 15, 1948, and the end on October 17, 1949. Now, the third reading of the draft, November 14, 1949, and B.R. Ambedkar moved a motion, Constitution as a settled by the Assembly be passed. So the motion on the draft constitutions was declared as a pass on the November 26, 1949, and received the signature of the member of president. Out of the total 299 member of assembly, only 284 were actually present on that day signed the constitution. This is also the date mentioned in the preamble as the date on which the people of India in the Constituent Assembly adopted and enacted and gave themselves as the constitutions. So the constitutions was adopted on November 26, 1949, contained a preamble, 395 articles and 8 schedule. So the preamble was enacted after the entire constitution was already enacted. B.R. Ambedkar, then law ministers, and piloted the draft constitution in assembly. He took a very good and prominent role. He was known for logical and forceful persuasive argument on the floor of assembly. He is recognized as the father of constitutions of India, but this brilliant writer, constitutional expert, undisputed leader of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes in India, and chief architect of the Constitution of India, and also known as the modern Manu among the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes people, those called to him the modern Manu. Now, enforcement of the constitutions and the 26th January, SPCP, the choosing the date of the commencement of the constitution because of its historical importance, and it was on this day 1930 the Purna Swaraj Day was celebrated. So follow the resolutions of the Lahore session 1929. That is the day. That's why the 26th January 1950 finally it was come into the implementation. Otherwise, 26th November 1949 it was finally adopted. Now there are certain criticism also. So not so far like to be count about the constitution, not a representative body, constitution not a sovereign body, even constitution not constitution take so much time consuming, and they're dominated by the Congress only, and the lawyer and politicians dominations of the constitution drafting, and dominated by Hindu only. There were less member of Muslim. So you people can say that, but overall we have 359 articles, 8 schedule, and one of the world best flexible, long surviving constitution. We love them and we respect them. Thank you everyone. Thank you to be a part of this video.